Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the channel. Hey, the wind's blowing pretty good today, but it's partly sunny, partly cloudy out today, and I'm pretty excited because we're heading to the ferry. So hopefully before the day's out, we'll make the ferry crossing to Newfoundland. Let's get started here. As we leave Sydney, we have a short ride that goes clear around the bay to the town of North Sydney. That's where the ferry terminal is located. After receiving our boarding tickets, we proceed down numbered lanes to do our designated area where we'll park the motorcycles until we board the ferry. Since we arrived plenty early to make sure that we didn't have any issues in boarding, we'll wait out the extra time inside the terminal until they make an announcement to board. When Gord and I returned to our bikes, Kinga from On Her Bike fame was standing right beside us. I recognized Chili, her bike, first. Sorry, Kinga. But I quickly recovered to greet her, and in a total fanboy style, I asked to take a picture with her. In total graciousness, she agreed to entertain this old-timer. Anyone who watches YouTube motorcycle travel videos will be familiar with Kinga's credentials. For those of you who haven't heard of her, I'll explain. Kinga has traveled the world over on her motorcycle, Chili. I would consider her one of the premier adventurers, man or woman. She is an expert in her field and an expert rider. What an absolute pleasure it was to meet her. Here at Aegis Moto Adventures, we wish Kinga nothing but fair winds and safe travels. Join us as we follow her on her YouTube channel, On Her Bike.
Video?
Yeah, video. All right. Unbeknownst to us at the time, strapping down the bikes very securely would be very important on this trip, as excitement built as we were getting ready to get underway. I walked around the ship to try and get some pictures and of the back of the ship and along shore there where the terminal was at as we were leaving. It's amazing how big these ships are and how much cargo they can hold. Look at all these semi-trailers and cars. There were actually 5 levels of vehicles. Finally, we get underway, and it'll take 6.5 hours to make the transit. What a nice tradition of recognizing the other ferry by blowing their horns at each other. It was nice that I could witness this and catch it on film. As we followed along the coastline of Nova Scotia headed toward Newfoundland, the seas weren't too terribly bad. But once we got out into open ocean, things really got rocky and rough. The ship was probably leaning 10 degrees to starboard and port, maybe more. I tried to catch this action as I was walking down the hallway here as I'm stumbling from side to side like a drunken sailor. Sitting with Gordon and I was a delightful young woman, Jackie, who was heading back to Newfoundland for their homecoming week to visit with her mother. That tradition had been put on pause because of the COVID outbreak, and this was the first week they were doing it since COVID had appeared. 6.5 hours later, we arrived at Port aux Basques to a heavy rain, and this was going to haunt us for the rest of our ride to Corner Brook, where we had a hotel for the night. As we prepare to disembark, we get our rain gear on and get ready to ride. We still have a long ride ahead of us before we get to our hotel and can call it a night. Kinga disembarks before us and is just ahead of us. She turns off and we wave goodbye and say adieu as she heads into town and we head on down the highway. Just north of Port aux Basques, there's an area that has big warning signs that says the area is known for 200-kilometer-an-hour winds. And boy, did we hit those winds. I got to tell you, the wind was so strong there, it literally broke open the zipper on my jacket and blew my jacket back off my shoulders. And within a few seconds, it had blown open the zipper on my rain jacket and blown those over my shoulders as well. I had to stop to reattach my jacket. It literally blew my jacket right off my shoulders. Crazy, crazy wind. We get stopped at several areas of construction, which slowed the process northward quite a bit. What they would do is it was single lane, so they would have stoplights on either end to keep traffic safe by going through the construction zone. But man, it made our transit to our hotel that much longer. Shake it like you mean it, baby. Come on and dance, baby. Come on. Shake it like you mean it, baby. Come on and As the sky starts to darken, the fog sets in areas and makes visibility really, really bad. I'm thankful for the new Baja lights that I put on my bike because that does help. But boy, I gotta tell you, this is the worst weather I have ridden a motorcycle in my life. Right before we get to Corner Brook, it's so dark and it is raining so hard I have to quit filming. It just isn't even safe for me to try to continue to film. And by the time we get to the hotel, it is completely dark outside. We are physically and mentally exhausted, and we are just ready to hit the hay. We are done in.
Hello everybody, and welcome to day 5. If you remember, we finished up day 4 in Sydney, Nova Scotia, right here. We spent the night, and it was just a short hop, a 20-minute ride around the bay to pick up the ferry terminal to go into the Atlantic and off to Newfoundland. That was a very, very smooth transition. Great service, superb ship. Notwithstanding that, the water was pretty rough once we cleared the landmass on the northern tip of Cape Breton here and got into the open ocean. It was about 6.5 hours total, but again, full services on board, very comfortable. One step short of cruise line, I would say, in my opinion. Once we arrived in Newfoundland, you can appreciate the map here is pretty small scale, so you're going to have to understand the distances. This is the total province you're looking at here on the map piece. So our track line that we finished up with yesterday with the run up to our current location in Corner Brook here, it was only a short hop on the map, but it was about 3.5 hours on a fairly good condition road. A few construction spots, a few wear spots where the large commercial retail trucking traffic has been beating the asphalt down a little bit, so you had to be mindful of that. The thing that made it difficult for us this time was that there was a lot of rain in the first third. The terrain made for some incredible winds, 90 kilometers per hour at least through that area. So between that and the fact we were subject to continuous rain on the journey up to Corner Brook, it was a tiring and a ride that definitely needed a lot of concentration. So the other piece of advice I'd give you on this short little route is that when you leave the ferry terminal in Sydney, have a full tank of gas, because there's not really a lot of gasoline station options on the way here. In fact, we didn't see much of anything at the time of night that we were coming up. So we're finished up in Corner Brook. Great little town, lots of infrastructure. You don't have to worry about anything at all in terms of accommodations or fuel or anything you might need in terms of sundries or anything like that, miscellaneous stuff. So that's it. Today we're going further north, so we'll check in with you later. Thank you. Bye-bye.
I gotta tell you, yesterday was kind of a wild day for us. We started out the day getting ready to go on the ferry, which I was really excited about. And then just by sheer odds, they're astronomical odds, we run into Kinga from On Her Bike fame. And what a pleasant young woman she is, just absolutely gracious. So that was nice to see her. The ferry ride was absolutely a roly-poly ride. No issues with seasickness, but boy, it was rocking. And so that was pretty dramatic when we got out into the open ocean. After getting to our port here in Newfoundland, we then had about a 2.5-hour ride north to get to our hotel for the night, and it just poured heavy fog. We had to ride in the nighttime a little bit, which we don't like to do, and we were just exhausted by the time we got here to the hotel. So I didn't film an ending for yesterday, but hopefully you like this video and you got a kick out of it. We'll see you in the next episode. Take care.